Three, two, one.
Woohoo!
Hello.
Is this thing on?
All right, we should be live on Facebook. So first off, we just wanted to take a moment to thank everybody for coming out and welcome everybody. This is our first, we've been doing these ongoing education series, and this is kind of an ongoing theme of that. We wanted to do and ask the experts kind of topic about what's going on in the local Dane County market in relation to COVID-19. So we've got some awesome folks here joining us today. Everybody's going to share a little bit of information kind of pertaining to their particular field. So we're going to be delving into the world of local Dane County real estate and insurance, and then mortgage lending, and then kind of dive into some of the physical things that have changed with like safety pertaining to actually showing sellers properties and things like that. So we're going to dive right into it. Getting so many questions. So we're trying to be a resource for the community, and we want to make sure first and foremost everybody knows that we're always available for questions if you guys want to like reach out and talk to us about anything. We want to continue to try and help as many people as we can, but also make sure that we do it in as safe of a manner as possible. So thankfully, we're 2 months into this pandemic, and I think we kind of have a firm idea of what's going on. I think we're through the worst like shock portion of things, and we're starting to kind of develop a real idea of how things are going to be kind of moving forward. So for me, the number one question that I keep getting asked is, how's the market? How's the market, right? So it's beginning to pick up, and that's great news. So again, I think we're through kind of the main shock of everything just being completely shut down. But it really truly is still day by day and sometimes hour by hour. Some of our buyers and sellers are telling us that they want to wait in moving forward with their sale or their purchase. And we totally respect them in that decision, and we're supporting them in that, and still trying to get them the as much up-to-date information as we can, and so that they have the tools and information available to them. We can still be creating the plan and getting things ready for when we are back to quote unquote normal, or the new version of normal. I would say we're getting an equal amount of buyers and sellers that are in the situation where they're ready to move forward. And, we're doing everything that we can in the same way to keep in communication with them, develop the plan for them to make that purchase or make that home sale as safely as possible. So we are going to segue back into kind of some of the specifics. My teammate, Justin May, is going to be delving into some of that. But really, at the crux of it, I think there's never been a more important time to be working with a team that's proficient and really listens to your needs, whether you're a buyer or a seller, and takes a focused look at your specific situation, and is really focused on developing a plan that's specific for you to meet your goals. Certainly.
Hey Justin, just to interrupt or ask a real quick question in that regard, like from a layman's standpoint, what's the first step? Like, do you notice with you guys as a team when you first meet with somebody, you ask a lot of these questions. Should people be wondering what kind of questions that, if they are working with a professional? I mean, if they're not asking a lot of questions, or whatever, but what are some of those finding questions that you ask clients or whatever to make sure that it's a unique experience each time? Like, what are some of those discovery questions you're asking people?
That's a fantastic question. I would say kind of the number one piece that has changed with, in relation to COVID-19 is we have to be so focused on people's health. So kind of trying to, certainly if you're in that like second tier of risk, category, the way that we want to approach the sale might be a little bit different than someone that's, doesn't have any underlying health conditions. So there's a lot of new kind of moving pieces that it's incredibly important to keep those at the forefront, when we're developing that plan. So, I don't want to touch on too much of Justin's material because we are going to get into some of the specifics of how, we would get the process going.
For
But
sure. What would you say, Justin, would be the most surprising thing before we get a little update from Shanae then? Like, what's the most surprising thing about this market? Because like spring market is always spring market, but now we're spring market in the middle of this crisis and obviously a lot of unknowns. We're also in a political unrest year in the fact that we have an election year and everything else. But like, yeah, do you have anything there?
absolutely. Was just really taking kind of a deep dive into the housing statistics that just came out. And I think kind of the unique piece is things are just starting to pick back up. We did have kind of a pause, if you will, in the market. So 37% decrease in single family listings in the month of April. And that's based upon, when compared with 2019's new listing numbers. So 2019 was a low inventory year for us. So to see that, the physical number of houses that are available go down an additional 37% is a really significant piece. So, everything kind of corresponds with that, 35% decrease in the number of accepted offers in the month of April, kind of almost in direct correlation to that. And really, the trend started in late March when, kind of right when quarantine really took hold. And we're just starting to open things up, right? So May 26th is the deadline for the expiration of the safer at home order currently. And we're really hoping for, what a lot of folks are calling a rolling start, where right now is the time to be putting the plan in place. And, there are still people that are listing right now, regardless of, what the situation is, because there are people that have to buy and sell, leases expiring, people moving to the area, job transfers, all that type of stuff. So
I think that's certainly part that's kind of getting missed here in all this is some people I know, just to share a quick story from another agent, and then really you should end with the most important thing everyone is wondering is their value of their home going down. When we get down to the most bullet bottom down dollar, most people right now, if they're not in the process of buying or selling, but they're obviously looking to you as their professional or what, to tell them about that. But what's that magic answer? Are values dropping?
That's a fantastic question. And yeah, I mean, it is equity for the majority of Americans is where the greater majority of our personal net worth is. So incredibly important, and fantastic news for folks in Dane County is housing prices are currently remaining strong. Despite the slowdown or the pause in the number of the good news is that really inventory is at the root of that. So the amount of buyers that are out there is far exceeding the number of available houses for sale. So it's actually, prices are remaining very strong, and they actually went up a good percentage in April. So great news for everybody. Shanae, I want to kind of segue that into the insurance world. So Shanae Bainan with Preferred Risk Solutions, another independent local business person, does a fantastic job. What's going on in the world of insurance right now?
Well, actually, Safer at Home was just overturned, so now it's the 20th we get to open back up.
Mm-hmm.
Get an extra 6 days.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
I know, and I know it's funny. It should be probably said, right? We're laughing about it, but it's hard. Like, some people are in completely different situations, and some people are waiting, like can't wait, and some people, so trying to be cognizant and fair of that too,
Yeah. Well, 1 in 5 people supposedly have been laid off or furloughed or don't have as many hours as they did. So clearly budgets are tight for a lot of people right now. One thing the insurance world is doing is most carriers are working with people as far as payments go. So if you're not working right now, money is tight, you're kind of worried about how you're going to pay your bills, instead of just letting your insurance lapse or cancel, call your agent, call the carrier, explain your situation, and most of them are being very gracious in working with people on whether it's just delaying a payment or just taking any little amount just to keep the policy active. A lot of other carriers are also giving some kind of a discount back, mostly auto, anything from 30 to 10% I've seen across the board, where it's just a monthly rebate basically. So they're giving rebates anywhere from April and May. There might be a few that are going back as far as March, but the majority of them are giving money back in the months of April and May. So they're all trying to do what they can to help. They realize that this is squeezing a lot of people.
Well, and I mean, I'm sure perhaps they don't have the numbers yet, but I'm assuming they're saving a lot of money in car accidents and.
Yes, driving is down.
Yeah, and like things like this
are down.
But then of course there's people passing away, and there's life insurance. I know that obviously the scope of the insurance world can be quite large, right? So, but interesting.
Yeah. I also know that a lot of people that have apartments or rental properties are also feeling the squeeze because not all their tenants are able to make rent right now, which, money coming in is tight. So even if you have a commercial property and your income is not what it is, the carriers will work with you if you give them a call and talk through it with them. A lot of changes with life insurance, not as many with the auto and the home. Life, a lot of changes coming down the pipe with life. In fact, a lot of carriers will now not take out a life insurance policy on an individual 59 or older.
Wow.
There are still some that will. So if you know anybody that is 59 or older and looking for some form of life insurance, even if it's just last expenses, take a look at it now, because they're probably all going to follow suit sooner or later. And those restrictions, once they're there, they don't ease up that soon, or that, it could be like that for a while. So.
Sinead, something else that we'd talked about pertaining to life insurance, haven't they kind of eased back some of the other restrictions for being able to apply? Or
so while the safer at home order was in effect, certain carriers were doing no paramed exams. So that's the medical exam where you have to get urine, blood tests, stuff like that. Certain carriers were waiving those requirements. They did have you fill out an additional medical form, but that was about it. So now that Safer at Home is lifted, I can't imagine that they're going to keep doing that much longer. So if you want a life insurance policy with no medical exam, you should probably apply by May 20th.
Hey, Shanae, thanks, by the way. Already
Yeah,
done.
no problem, Dan. Yeah.
Applied, approved, and done. Thank you. It was very painless. I appreciate it.
My wife and I took advantage of that as well. It's, it can be just like a goofy piece that's prohibitive to it. So just streamlining that process, and it's it's a scary time. So knowing that we have that in place for our kids, God forbid it happens, just feel a lot better about that. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And a lot of people are, taking a look at things they haven't looked at in a while, where our new quotes are up big time. People are actually taking a look at what they have insured, how much insurance they have, how much they're spending, when's the last time they actually took a look at it. It's been crazy for us. So in a good way.
Do you think, are there increases in coverage that people should be looking at as a result of the pandemic? I mean, are there things that you would advise your clients differently of now?
I mean, I believe across the board, you should have certain coverages on home and auto. And I think that you should have that regardless of the pandemic. I think a lot of people are taking a look at their life insurance, making sure they have enough. And then who's to say how much is enough? It's how much do you feel comfortable with?
Yeah.
So, I mean, especially if you have kids, what kind of lifestyle are they used to? Do you want to try and help pay for school? Do you want to pay off the mortgage so your spouse doesn't have to worry about paying the mortgage? I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. And if you think about it, I mean, you could come up with an astronomical number, but is that really what you can afford, or what is needed? I mean, there's so many different ways to look at it.
Well, you're touching on so many things that are near and dear to me. The first kind of thing that my family, that our whole household really took a look at was our expenses, and trying to play a little bit of defense and making sure that, is there waste? Was there places that we could potentially reduce our household spending? And one of the places we started was actually with insurance. So I want to give Shanae a little testimonial here that it had been, I think, almost 4 years since we'd really delved into our insurance, and we were with the same carrier that whole time. And I think the industry refers to it as creep. Essentially, if you're not checking in on that, your rates increase incrementally every single year. And so we reached out to Shanae at Preferred Risk, and we had her take a look at it. And we were just kind of floored that not only was she able to find us pretty significant savings, also ended up getting better coverage out of it and really a greater understanding. So thank you for that, Shanae.
Mhm.
Another thing that we believe really strongly in is supporting small businesses. So we kind of want to give some of that back. And what I'd said in the little promo that we ran for this, we were going to be giving some incentives for attendees. So we do want to extend that. And right now, Woodkins Realty is, we believe so strongly in the coverage that we got and the savings and the experience that we want to extend that to anybody else. If you contact Shanae and get a quote, no obligations, just see if you do better in pricing or better in coverage or possibly both. We want to support Shanae's small business, but we also are going to take it a step further and try and support another small business of your choosing. So just for getting a quote, we're going to send you a $10 gift card to a small business of your choice. And so talk to Shanae, let her know that Whitkins Realty sent you her way. Let's support some awesome small businesses and see if we can save some of our clients some money in the process.
Yeah, that's great.
Super cool of you.
Yeah, that is awesome. And another thing, if you are looking to buy a house, there's a lot of things that we can do for you. One thing that we do is we can not only get you a quote for the house, but we can let you know if there's been any activity on the house, if there's been any claims. One reason that insurance rates have gone up the last few years is there's been a lot of claims activity between flooding and hailstorms. That can really drive up rates on houses and customers. So if there is a house that you're interested in and you're talking to Justin, I can let you know if there's been any claims activity on that. So, if they did have a hailstorm and they got a $20,000 check for a new roof, are there new shingles on that roof? It's just one thing to take a look at. Another thing, we have a lot of carriers that offer a lot of endorsements on homes. One of my favorites is the equipment breakdown. It covers the air conditioner, the furnace, the appliances, up to $10,000 per item. And that does include wear and tear and water leakage. So a lot of other carriers will not cover those things. I love that endorsement. It is my favorite, and I try and put it on literally every single person's home. Because if you have a claim in that and you have that endorsement, you are super happy when that actually comes to fruition. And it's super cheap. It even covers pools, spas, motors, pumps, heater. It's a great endorsement. I love it. But not only that, it's like a fraction of the cost of what you think it would be. So if you ever want a quote, just give me a call or shoot me an email. And if you need to buy a house, talk to Justin and we can work together and make good things happen for you.
Yeah, thanks for bringing up the home history claims reports. We're literally involved with that today. Actually, we've got a property under contract for some clients, and turns out there was just a hail and wind damage claim on it for like $8,700. So, we were able to find that out before the home inspector has even taken a look. That's information that we can provide to him, and not only makes his job or her job better, but also in a market where we are having to sometimes do things sight unseen, or it's just a very fast moving market. It's another really, really awesome piece of the puzzle that we can bring in, and the more information that our clients have, the more it benefits them. We like to kind of call it the it's like a Carfax report
for your house.
Thanks so much for that, Shanae. That's awesome. Mr. Justin May, how are things going for you?
Things are going really well here. Can't complain about anything myself. Happy to be able to be working and be home and be on the call tonight. So thanks for having me, Justin, and good to hear from you, Shanae.
You too.
Want to take a few minutes and just kind of give you a quick brief overview of what the process is for selling or buying a home right now during the COVID era. So things are quite a bit different, and it has given us a chance to kind of move forward into the future and embrace technologies we really haven't had to use as much until now. Thankfully, we do have the technology available, which makes it a lot easier for us to do our work remotely. I guess kind of getting started, whether you're buying or wanting to sell a home right now, what we have that can really work well is our virtual consultations. So the first thing we'll do is, meet with you, your preference, of course, if you're a FaceTime user or a Zoom user or a Google Duo or whatever you prefer, can definitely adapt to that. And I guess, being able to meet virtually is just a little bit more personal than emailing back and forth or, texting. So it's really great to have the kind of one-on-one face-to-face thing. We can always talk on the phone too. And, in our consultations, we'll, kind of brief you on what's going on in the market, what you're looking for, and find out, kind of a property you want to find or what you're looking to sell. I guess from there, moving into paperwork now. So that's changed quite a bit. So we have been using this technology for a while, electronic documents and electronic signatures on documents, but now it's become almost the only way I've been working recently is by using the electronic documents and electronic signatures. And it's software, and it's very, very user friendly and easy to use. If you can send an email or write a text, it'll be no problem for you to jump in and sign and read through electronic documents. And of course, with those documents, I wouldn't want anybody to be intimidated by them. So we will definitely go over them with you bit by bit in our initial consultations. So whether we're going through the documents over the phone or via FaceTime or Zoom, we can just walk you step by step through each document. And once you're happy and satisfied with all the requirements, we can just shoot you an email. And in that email, you'll just open up a link and you'll just sign the document. The document allows you to draw up your own virtual signature. So you don't have to do anything special or enter any information from anywhere. Just it's all built into the software, and it's just a really smooth transaction that way. After that, once we have the paperwork in place, if you're a buyer, and what's really great for sellers and buyers right now is you're going to be further along in the process because you're going to be pre-approved, and you're going to be pre-qualified or pre-underwritten. So that's going to put you ahead of the game. Without having those pre-qualifications right now, most listings actually don't really want people just going out and looking at properties just for safety right now. So it's really nice, not only for the sellers of the house to know that people are coming to look at their places that are qualified and ready to buy the properties and really seriously interested in not just kind of perusing or browsing the market. Well, we're going to work to make sure that any buyer that's going to be looking at your house is going to be really a serious party. And so going on with that, there's been all sorts of great ways we can present these properties to you. So we have what are called virtual tours. And so the virtual tours are actually done with 3D photography. So this is some amazing photography. And maybe you've seen it. You can probably do it on your phone too, but this takes it another step further. and it's really is three-dimensional. I mean, you can look up at the ceiling, you can look down at the floor, you can look all around the house and get into nooks and crannies and zoom in and zoom out, just with your fingers on your phone or your iPad, whatever you're using. And if you're using a mouse, that works too. No, and it's really an easy way to walk through a house without actually having to go there. And we're also recommending and really encouraging anybody before they even go to see a house that they do the virtual tours. I know our team is any listing that we get, part of our basic marketing package includes the 3D tours, because we wouldn't want to have it any other way. We want to make sure any buyer that's coming to our listing has seen the house inside and out. So besides the virtual tours, we also would love to do a virtual showing for you. If you're a buyer and you like the virtual tour, you've done the virtual tour, you saw the house, you saw the pictures, you talked with your agent and you're interested in it, but you're still, maybe on the fence a little bit, and maybe you don't feel super comfortable just going to look at a property or whatever it may be, Justin or I would be happy to go to the property, and we can take a video camera with us, and we can walk you through the property one-on-one. So we can have you on the line, we can walk you through the property, talk to you about what the property has to offer. And so we're really taking the virtual tour, the 3D photography, a whole leaps and bounds forward by giving you an actual person that's there to communicate with you and talk to you about everything that's happening in the property. And we can really get down to some great details that way. No, so that's really awesome. And going forward with that, let's see.
What about when we get to the point where buyers are ready to do a physical showing? So they're pre-qualified. We know they're financially ready to go. They've done the virtual tour. They've driven past the house, so they know they're comfortable with the neighborhood and all of that kind of thing. When they're physically ready, I guess, are there additional things that are being taken, into account for keeping not only the sellers safe in their own home, but also buyers when they're physically ready to go through a property? Is it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so from a buyer's perspective, if you're going to be taking, if you decide that you do want to do a showing, an in-person showing, we're going to make sure that you are equipped with all of the necessary safety protocol to prevent the spread of COVID-19 as much as possible. We can provide you with hand sanitizers and gloves and slip-on booties. We definitely encourage the use of wearing masks. And so from the buyer's perspective, we're going to make sure you're set up. You have all the gear you need to feel comfortable going into a showing. And from a seller's perspective, if we're listing your house, we're going to make sure that any seller that comes in, if they're not prepared, if any buyer that comes in, if that buyer is not prepared, and if their listing agent isn't making sure that they're on top of safety, as your listing agent, we are going to make sure that your house is equipped with the proper materials, that you have gloves, you have slip-on booties there, you have hand sanitizer. We're going to make sure that you have, disinfecting wipes and sprays. Just so we want to make sure we're covering both sides of the part, both parties as much as possible. So whether you're if you're listing a house with us, or you want to use our team to help find you the perfect house for you, we will make sure that you are in very good hands and safe that way. Does that sound good, Justin?
Yeah.
Cool.
We sat down and put a lot of thought into our showing kits, and we were actually amongst the first teams in the area to really kind of have a set protocol in place of how we were going to handle showings going forward. So I really thank Justin for sharing that information with us, and I think it's about as good of approach as we have right now, and we're working hard at making sure we're keeping everybody's safety at the forefront.
Yeah, so I can add to that too. Is what's another great thing about the whole process is when you find the house you want to buy, and we're ready to close on it. You made an offer, and we've done all this paperwork back and forth through the electronic documents back and forth, and everybody's kind of happy, ready to move forward and close on the property. There's different ways you can close now. You don't have to go into the office. As a matter of fact, as of right now, they're not letting anybody go into the office. So they're doing drive up or drive through closings. You just kind of pull up to the office and roll down your window, and you can sign the title, and the seller can drive up and get their check, and it just kind of makes it a lot easier, and it's pretty fun that way. The other thing you can do is you can actually do it all online, which is amazing. You can actually close. You can use notary, virtual notary online that can sign, watch you sign and make sure that everything is good that way. You can do a remote signature or pre-signing where the title company can send you the documents. You can sign them and send them back to them. You don't even have to be at the closing. And so we have all sorts of resources to use, and there's no reason that we're going to put anybody's safety at risk, and the whole entire process can be almost hands off. So it's pretty great time to be buying and selling a house in that manner for this time. So
yeah, it's great that everybody is really adapted, and I want to welcome Aaron Bainan to our panel here with Provisor. And
Yes.
Aaron, how are things going in the world of mortgage? And
It's a roller coaster, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's seen all the changes from COVID. So where do I even get started? I'm coming in late because Shanae and I are doing the trade-off. Sounds like you guys were kind of talking about just some of the safety, the physical stuff. We've been doing electronic disclosures, electronic signings since forever, regardless of COVID. We've been doing Zoom meetings and screen sharing sessions and everything even before all this. So with exception to some of the underwriting guideline changes and the appraisal need changes, and then the way we change title, the reality is not much has changed for us on a day-to-day. So I still meet with people, via Zoom meetings and through they can schedule through my calendar, and it's all not much of that has changed. But the major challenge is, at least at the onset, and now we've already got solutions for that. Some of the first challenges were the appraisals. When COVID hit hard and we obviously nobody was really ready, there was some delays, some challenges in getting appraisals done because appraisers didn't want to physically go into the properties. So the guidelines were lightened, if you will, that they were allowing transactions that otherwise would have needed full appraisals, where people walked through physically. The appraiser had to walk through both, do an exterior and interior inspection of the property. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac allowed for exterior only, or just even an automated valuation model or desktop reviews, so that the appraisal could be, that part of the process could be made easier. That helped us catch up a lot with what started to become a bit of a backlog and challenge in getting appraisals done. Now it's not an issue at all. We've caught up quite a bit. Otherwise, some of the other challenges that we have right now are due to COVID. There's a handful of additional requirements, like proving that you're working, proving that you're still getting a pay stub.
Laid
What's
off.
that?
Yeah. So many folks laid off that I know that's affecting some things. But
Yeah, it's a challenge. So there's sometimes some additional requirements on just proving that you're actually still working, even right up to the day, or sometimes even after the transaction's actually closed. I'll spare you from that whole lecture. And then, one of the things that keep running into also is for the self-employed, the way that income is calculated, that what the level of affordability is calculated, something we refer to as the debt to income ratio. That hasn't changed as much, but depending on the program and the loan product, they may be looking for additional assets from the self-employed to validate their income at its full actual level. Otherwise, if you don't have sufficient asset reserves, they may knock off as much as 25% of your otherwise normally eligible income. So I haven't had anything stop a transaction from closing on that, but it's something to just kind of keep an eye out for.
What about credit scores for consumers? Have you seen a lot of changes with credit scores?
Yeah, so we haven't seen the consumers' credit scores dropping, but we've seen the underwriting guidelines for loans that would otherwise have accepted lower credit scores. Those are, due to COVID, they're temporarily increasing, or frankly, making it more restrictive. Those credit scores have to be higher. So what sucked, what was really unfortunate, was you had people that were qualified, and then COVID hit, and they're no longer, nothing in their world changed, but they're no longer qualified. So for those people, unfortunately, we either have to find a way to boost their scores up even higher, or we have to wait until the underwriting relaxes back to what it was pre-COVID.
And do you think that will ease back? I mean, I think we're kind of through the initial like shock phase of things, and we're just kind of starting to open back up. Do you think that these will be like lasting changes, or will we see them gradually ease back?
No, the pendulum always swings, especially when it comes to underwriting, right? Just as rates go up and down, the underwriting guidelines seem to get really tight and then loosen up and get really tight. But as it relates to this COVID, I think it'll relax relatively soon. I don't think everything's going to go back to exactly what it was before COVID hit. I think when we're all allowed to go back to work, especially here in Wisconsin, the Supreme Court, I don't know if everybody heard, but it overruled the extension. So we're all going to get to go back to work sooner. But in general, I think the underwriting guidelines, the more strict underwriting guidelines requiring higher credit scores for otherwise programs they would have qualified for, I think that's going to take a few more months, because they want to make sure that the lenders, the mortgage servicers, the people who actually buy and service the loans, that they're not going to get stuck with bad underperforming loans.
Mm-hmm. One of the primary questions that I keep getting asked, and it's really for a lender, is what advice are you giving first-time home buyers right now that are just starting out in the process? Are there additional steps that they should be taking in relation to what has happened as a result of COVID-19?
Yeah, so I mean, at least this group here knows that I'm a huge advocate of not just getting a pre-approval, but pre-underwriting. That's what I coined the term pre-underwriting, and that's providing the additional docs beyond the standard approach, so we can vet it more heavily and make sure you're approved. Well, now that's even, I think, more relevant. Like I said, if you've been thinking about it, and maybe you did some brief research, or you maybe had a quick conversation and understood that you would be qualified, pre-qualified with these new changes, you might not be. So you want to address that now. And then I think the other thing is, I actually believe that we're going to see a pretty quick upswing to normalcy, like into the third quarter. And the one thing I fear, or I guess I anticipate, is everyone will bounce back in. I think there's going to be some pent up energy that when we're all allowed to get back out there and we don't have the concerns, that buyers are going to charge on what little inventory there is available. So all the more reason to have, as a buyer, a first-time home buyer or not, have all of your paperwork in order so that you can make a more powerful offer, proving that you are literally pre-underwritten with the potential ability to close in as little as 8 days. Not that you have to close that quickly, but when sellers are looking at multiple offers, arguably for the same price and probably from the same or similar people as far as their approval and loan programs are concerned, you'll stand out against the crowd when you are literally pre-underwritten. And yeah, and as everything changes and the guidelines keep moving, it's nice to get started on that early, to know how to overcome it early, so that you don't run into any surprises after your offer is written. And the normal approach, that's when you really start digging deep into your underwriting, and that's when people just discover something that nobody anticipated.
Yeah, so it's more important than ever, essentially, to know your financing and, back to trying to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to, be smart with our approach on things and allowing access to properties and things like that. Knowing that somebody has the financial ability to purchase is really becoming, more and more important. So get that plan in place right now. Justin, we got another question for you as well. So kind of back to trying to help out first-time home buyers. What do you say to a buyer when they ask you, is now a good time to purchase a house?
Well, I guess I would say yes, that right now is a very good time to buy a house. I mean, especially coming from a cost perspective, because of interest rates being at a historically low point, and with that, and also if you consider writing off your mortgage interest as well. So between those two things, I mean, as a buyer, it is a great time to buy a house, I think.
Yeah, it's really interesting market where I think it's a rarity, right? Where it's a really great time to sell and purchase at the same time. The cost of borrowing money is about as low as it has been. So really kind of unique piece to what's going on.
Yeah, I guess also because of inventory being low right now, and because there is a lot of buyers holding back, I think that inventory will likely remain low, so that is going to certainly be a benefit for anybody who is buying right now. In the months to come, we don't know what it's going to look like exactly, but chances are a lot more people will feel more comfortable about going out and looking at houses and buying. So that's another reason right now would be a beneficial time to start looking.
Yeah, I mean, the fantastic news, back to kind of what Aaron was saying, is I've heard some discussion too, actually heard it referred to as like the surge. We do kind of anticipate that there's going to be a big increase of inventory on the market in the coming weeks, but that's good news for everybody. So right now, as of April, inventory in Dane County was at 1.5 months, and what they say a balanced market is about 6 months of inventory. So even if we have a substantial increase in inventory, it's going to keep things steady. Prices are going to remain strong because it's not going to significantly sway things in the favor of one group or the other. So I think we should be in good shape. We could definitely I know everybody is ready for some increased inventory. Right now, as of tail end of April, 42% of the properties that are listed on the MLS have an accepted offer. So if you're a seller, this is potentially the best time to sell a house that we've had in possibly the last 10 years. Things are favoring the seller. Pretty much most things under $350,000 are getting multiple offers, and also a record low number of days on the market, before accepting an offer to purchase. So do you guys have any questions? Any questions that you guys had? Or...
Let's see.
I don't have a question as much as I think, to your point, the supply demand curve it's just going to go down in balance. Sellers have dropped off, but so have buyers, and sellers will all come back at the same time. Buyers are going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And the irony is the seasonality of the market. I think in any normal market, you talk to someone who's talking or considering selling their house now and getting it listed. I think there's a lot of people that would have argued in normal times, like, it's too late, you missed your window for the peak season. And now with COVID, they haven't missed the window at all. It actually, it's the equivalent of talking to someone in March or February and March about getting started.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just kind of push things back a little bit farther, I think. And, there's a lot of discussion of the potential that we could see, we're going to try and almost condense those 2 months worth of time on the market that we lost, that might almost get condensed into the remaining portion of the year. So we're all kind of hoping, cautiously optimistic. We can only look at the data that we have today, but lots of really encouraging signs. And I just wanted to really thank you guys for joining us here today. Aaron Bainan with Provisor, Justin May with the Whitkins Realty team at Remax Preferred, and Shanae Bainan with Preferred Risk Solutions. Justin Whitkins, as always, we are here for you guys. If you have questions on anything, I'm going to put everybody's contact info in the comments section below. If you want more information like this, reach out to us. If you just have questions, we're never too busy, no matter what the question is. So thanks so much, everybody, for your time. Thank you, panelists, for joining us. Hope you guys found some value in this, and everybody stay healthy, stay hopeful. We're going to get through this, and I think a lot of things are going to be significantly benefited. We got to try and always search for that silver lining, and that's what I'm hoping for. So
With you on that.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.